Hey, hey, Blue Table fans and scene. Oh, I forgot my water. Hold on, here we go. Don't worry, I'm coming back. Guys, I made it. I clawed my way from the underworld. All right, it's time for mail. Mail time! Here's the mail it. How many of you are hearing that inside your head right now? Right? Okay. So this is from a fan named Perkins. And before I launch into his questions, I want to read what he wrote. He says, "Hi Sean, I'm sure you have plenty of topics to ramble about, so use these as you see fit." 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. "Recently, I have become a bit of a hermit, cloistered away with my family. My hobby interests ebb and flow in and out of focus. Of course, I have a collection of unpainted figures. My plan is to set tiny gaming goals together with my daughters. I am loquacious, and like you could talk for hours, perhaps a bit ADHD. Well, yeah, because when I was growing up, they didn't call it that. They just said you were a spaz. And I remember that in elementary school, being called a spaz, because I was like so excited all the time. My experience, oh, and I would have like outbursts of like, my opinions, and say like stuff for attention. So, which is great in the era of YouTube. My experience with Warhammer 40k started with the original Space Hulk back in the late 1980s or early 90s. I got back into 40k in 2005 when my wife went to work in Alaska. I started a Tau army and joined a game store's escalation league. I lost every game of 40k that I played. The regular gamers started to kibitz, hoping to get me at least one win. Funny thing, I enjoyed playing without ever winning a single game. My wife returned from Alaska and I have not played 40k since. That has not stopped me from buying miniatures and dreaming about having a regular gaming group. I purchased Warhammer Fantasy, Goblins and Dwarves box set, and the big final book, but I have never gotten to play. Sad. My friends are not into wargaming. I need new friends. I am a DM, and I ran a weekly game from 2003 to 2010. I love DMing. I play D&D Light, Tiny Dungeon, or ICRPG with my eldest daughter, age 9. Typing this email was interrupted 5 times by Cha-Cha, my 5-year-old. I only got to finish by handing her an iPad. Love to see you posting new videos, sending joy and happy thoughts your way. Thank you. Perkins, last name." Wouldn't that be funny if your last name were last name? Okay, so first off, thanks for the questions. And I want to plug this program because this made me think of something I'm doing. It's a program called Aspiring Warlord. I plan on running it long term, and there's different levels of it, but at the most basic one that's geared to the common man, it requires $200 a month. So that's something, you know, that's, for a lot of people, that would be a chunk of change. But you get 2 things for your $200 a month, and it's a commitment for a year. You get a $300 service credit, and you get wholesale cost on your models. So basically, you would tell me what you wanted to be painted. You'd send me money for that, the wholesale amount. And then you'd use your credit, your expanded credit, to have everything assembled and painted. And at the end of the year, if you stick with it for a year, you will most likely have something like 3 or 4 painted armies, whole armies. Now, I've got pricing guides, so you can always ask me for guides and determine if you want to do it or not. And I think everybody should be doing this program. It's an awesome idea. I've had a few, I have one guy who's in his 3rd month and his things are about to roll off the line. And I'm excited. I'm excited for it. So it's called Aspiring Warlord. I'll put the link in the notes, unless I forget. The other story I want to tell you before, and I'll save that story for another time. It's the story of the High Elves. All right, and I think I've told that before. Number 1, when, how did you encounter D&D or role-playing type games for the first time? I started in 1976. Well, you got me beat, Perkins, because I started in 1981. So the year is 1981. I'm in Southern California. It's a relatively small town of Ashland, Oregon. Probably like 23,000 people live there at this time. And this is, guys, if you walk 10 minutes in any direction from Ashland, you'll be in the forest. Like and the city is like on the side of a hill. And it's right next to this enormous swath of federal forest. So, anyway, it's 1981, and a friend of mine lives in a house with a detached garage, and they've renovated that garage to be his room. And it is awesome. It's got like a little bathroom in there, bunks, and this is the tree fort, guys. This is where we all went to, play games and, sort of a base of operations for summer fun with dirt bikes and wooden swords. Yeah, just absolutely magic. So I roll up on my dirt bike and I see what? They're playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it was new. It was this new game, and they were playing Queen of the Demon Web Pits. And the thing is, though, they were trying to like figure it out. And I'm like a reader and a math type person, so I'm like, this is how you do it. Oh, I want to be the DM. And the great thing was, the DM gets to create everything with no limitation. So I say yes to that. I loved that. And when I played, my first character was named, first name Human, last name Fighter. Mr. Fighter. And I thought that was his name. Nope, it was just race and class. So there you go. And I was in 6th grade at the time, and me and my buddies would play D&D in the library during lunchtime, and it was great. I loved it. I remember one of my players, we looked at his inventory, and I remember we all kind of had like this epiphany. We were like, wait a minute, could you realistically carry all these things? Because he had this huge list, like 10-foot poles, 500 feet of rope. We're like, you probably couldn't carry these poles around with you, and run and jump and do all the things you're doing. And then we were like, aha, bag of holding, what now? And by 7th grade, I had typed up my own role-playing game called ElfQuest. And basically, my memories of middle school and high school are just of role-playing games, because that's all I did. And I flunked out my senior year. So, guys, don't be afraid of bad grades. Really, seriously. It's too much stress. You'll remember the stress, but it ends up, just do something intelligent and learn things, So I read a lot and did Dungeons and Dragons, and that was my education. I call it D&D-U. All right, number 2. What are the best and worst aspects of running a small business? Aha! It's a trick question. Trick answer. Because the answer to both of those is the same thing, and that's humans. Because humans aren't bad or good. They just kind of, everyone has their way of thinking about things, and I would say humans are unpredictable. They're unpredictable for greatness, where you're just like, wow, this person turned out awesome and did all these amazing things. Or they can unexpectedly turn into something absolutely horrible. So, you never know. And I think the real secret is communication. Just say something, like if something's bothering you, there's a nice way to bring it up. And for me, my problem is I'm just so happy-go-lucky all the time, and I don't remember things, which is a blessing and a curse. So I tend to just go about my happy business, and people that are bothered by whatever I'm doing, unless they politely say something, well, I probably am not thinking about it. So there's that. And it's been the cause for a lot of introspection for me. Like, well, what kind of person am I, and what am I trying to accomplish in life? So anyway, what are the best and worst aspects of running a small business? That's basically it. And I think I was listening to a marketing video this morning, and they said something that I've really learned the hard way, which is don't just grow your business. Grow, 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 and just let it expand ad infinitum. I mean, there was a point where in the conference room, there was a blueprint for Blue Table Painting having 200 to 300 people working there. And now, of course, I realize, oh, that's horrible for me. Like, some people, that's great, but I gotta tell you, it's different. Like, and even in small increments, like going from working by yourself to working with just 3 to 5 people, that's a big leap. That is a different company. It's a different experience. So in terms of running a small business, grow it to the right size. And for me, now that I've sort of seen lots of different options, what I'm doing right now, it's perfect. Guys, listen. It's springtime. I'm in my gorgeous, absolutely right-sized studio, and the birds are chirping outside. And it's a spring morning. It's a Monday, and nobody's here. I've got an artist coming over to train that I'm going to train, and it's just like my life. I have peace. I have a lot of peace. So that would be it. Number 3, would you consider yourself a Stoic? I don't know. I really wish I had looked this up beforehand to find out what a Stoic is. You know, let me see if I can do number 4 while I am doing number 3. Okay, hold on. I'm looking at my phone. I know Stoicism, if you say it that way, is there you go. All right, here. Oh, it actually says the endurance of pain or hardship without the display of feelings or without complaint. Okay, so no, I'm not a Stoic. I definitely complain about it. All right, an ancient Greek school of philosophy founded at Athens by Zeno of Citium. The school taught that virtue, the highest good, is based on knowledge. The wise live in harmony with the divine reason that governs nature and are indifferent to the vicissitudes of fortune and the pleasures and pain. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, my personal approach to life is this. The basis of the universe is goodness. I'm more of a cornucopian. There's plenty. Things are supposed to be going right for you. And it's okay if they seem like they're going right. And I also believe that everything sort of is produced from within. So if something seems to be going wrong for me, I think to myself, okay, what is it about my vibration, like what's going on inside me, that's producing this result, is sort of like projecting this out. And what I found is that is an extremely useful question to ask. Rather than just moaning and groaning and blaming other people or going out and trying to fight everything, I found it's way more useful to take a deep breath, take a day off if you can, go do something different, and just be okay with it. Just change the inside. And I found it's just like it works for me every time. And I believe the most extreme version of that, which is thought causes all. That your very thoughts, just what's happening in here, can change the actual physical environment around you. And that's what I'm trying. And I've logicked it out. I'm like, all right, if it's a jungle out there and things are going from the outside in and all this stuff is just happening to me and I have very limited control over it, it's a jungle out there, I got to take a hard pass on that existence. And at age 50, I have to say, well, I've already done it. I already had my kids, already accomplished my things in life, you know, had a great experience, and I'm good to go. However, okay, so Stoicism. So no, I don't think you should just grin and bear it, I think. But instead of complaining, and I actually believe complaining, like by the time of words are coming out of my mouth, that means the vibration is really strong. And that's like words become real things. But that can be a great thing too. To control the words and control this is to shape my reality. And I do that. And for those who might be interested, I actually wrote a document, I guess, called the Wishing Ring Society. And it's basically like a very complex mental positivity exercise that I do. And that's been sort of the thing I made up for myself. And I found it very helpful to focus my thoughts in a positive way and to approach life in more of a creative stance than a reactionary stance. So, yeah, and if you want to look that up, it's not hard to find online. It's attached to the Blue Table Painting blog on Blogspot. And by the way, nobody cares about my stupid thing, you know. It's I'm just doing it for me. I spent like a month just sort of typing everything up. And of course, if I went back in and like retyped it, you know, obviously I would change some things because I've learned to do it in a different way. Okay, number 4. Do you have... I'm running out of water. Do you have a bucket list? Why? What's on it? Okay, I do not have a bucket list. Why don't I have a bucket list? Because I have something different. In 2013, I created a vision room. I spent a whole year meditating. I put things up on the walls, things that pleased me. And in many ways, a lot of that has happened. And some elements of it, there was one day where I just ripped it all down and burned it. And that was an extremely cathartic exercise. Like, I just let it go. It's like, okay, I created this. Now it's up to the forces of the universe to set this all up and make it happen. And by the way, my approach to life is way different than the typical thing, which is set your goals, work hard. It's guess what? I already did that. I set goals, I worked hard, I played by the rules, and that did not go well for Sean. Every time I've gone about something in a happy way, it's turned out really well. And sort of going off-road, just doing whatever. Blue table painting is a great example of that. Like, I've done better doing this than I ever could have done teaching. I would choose this over any profession I could think of. I really can't imagine, other than just somebody showing up out of the blue and saying, oh, by the way, here's a giant chunk of money, go do your hobby stuff and, you know, we'll just document it or whatever. That I would do. And by the way, I'm open to that. I call it in my vision room, I called it the benefactor. And so back to bucket list. So now I have something different. Like 3 years ago, a mentor of mine, and by the way, the last 4 years post-divorce, they've been rough. Like 2015, I was out of it. Like, I was making videos, and I love it when the red light goes on, and I'm naturally happy. But man, that was like, I lost it. And 2016, same thing. Kind of started crawling back in 2017. 2018 was really my year of sort of like standing up and, you know, going, oh, wow, this is great. My world is awesome. So anyway, so I'm talking to my mentor, and she says, hey, what are you doing every day for positivity exercises? Because I was like, well, you know, I'm not feeling so good. And I said, well, I'm not doing anything every day. She's like, well, there's your problem. She gave me an assignment. It was to write a fantasy journal, which is a work of fiction starring yourself, written in the first person, that no one reads except you. And nobody will ever read it. So there's no point in time, nobody, not a spouse, not a best friend, a confidant, nobody gets to read this. It's tucked away forever. And the reason for that is you can't do this and have editing. Like, you know, oh, well, I can't type that because that's not, you know, that's not socially acceptable, you know. What would my parents think? And nope. And I'm telling you, if you really burrow down deep on that one, you're going to discover things about yourself. Me, I discovered that I'm incredibly shallow. And I'm okay with that. Like, you know what? I've already done my things. I mean, most of my kids are kind of like, they're within distance of 18. And so I have a duty to them. But, you know, I've already accomplished a lot of things. So it's like, well, now I'm just going to do whatever I want. And so anyway, so I have this story. It's a work of fiction. It's 165 pages. And a lot of things in there have happened. But it's, that's kind of like my bucket list. Things that I would like to do. Now, getting back to the question. So why don't I have technically a bucket list? Because I don't want to. That doesn't sound great. Like, I'd love to travel. That would be fun. But I'd also like to discover the city that I live in. I've been in Salt Lake for almost 4 years now. Yeah. And I haven't gone skiing yet. How messed up is that? I've done a lot of other things. You know, downtown. I've become quite the city mouse. But, you know, I mean, there's somebody that's living in a gorgeous villa in Rome in the countryside where everyone would like to go vacation, and he wishes he were just out of there. So it's all about your perspective. So, yeah, my bucket list is build a lot more armies. That sounds great. So anyway, let's see. What advice would you give someone thinking about starting his own small business from scratch? I made a video on this. You'd have to dig a little bit, but because everybody was asking me that, especially about miniatures painting. And now it's almost comical how many people are painting miniatures on commission. Like I'm just like, oh my gosh. I didn't think the industry would go that way into like a zillion fragmented shards. I mean, it's just, guys, it's crazy. But my advice in short would be prolific. And just, you know, just put yourself out there every day. That's the thing. People want to... The internet is a terrible place. Anonymous people can rip you to shreds in the comments section. They don't care. That's coming from them. They're bitter inside, so naturally that's the only thing that can come out. So, but, you know, it kind of causes you to shrink, you know. And my thing would be like, you know what, just turn the comments off and do what you're doing. And if you're sincere and you love it, it'll be okay. Don't worry about that. Good people will sort of be attracted to your cause. Oh, hold on. Hold on. I have an artist coming in. I just want to make sure she comes to the right door. Here we go. All right. Okay, so that is the questions. And if you have questions, you should send me an email, bluetablepainting@gmail.com. Now, what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about my fantasy world. So in my fantasy world, I have a benefactor, someone who's already established, already with an empire, and this person just provides me resources to be a creative element inside of what they're doing. In this case, it's like a resort in the mountains. It's about 20 minutes outside of a major city, and so it's this beautiful wooded estate, And there's buildings there where you would have like a week-long conference, you would have weddings out there. That's something that would happen. Like, so a lot like Sundance, actually. And, but I don't run it. I have absolutely nothing to do with running it. I don't have workers. I don't have, you know, meetings to go to. I have absolutely zero interest in that. However, I am a creative type, so I have a place to live, a beautiful home. And if you want to look at the type of home and decoration that is interesting to me, you'd look up Howie Mandel's Malibu house, except transplant that into like a forested area. And also Richard Branson's Tamadot home, Tamadot, in Morocco. And in terms of like design, openness, layout, those places are awesome. So in my fantasy world, that's where I would live. And again, I technically don't own anything in my fantasy version of the world. And then I have a workshop that's extremely, it has a working floor, and it also has like a showroom floor, and then it has conference rooms and sort of side room, project rooms. And it has like a loading dock for deliveries. But this isn't a business. Like, my fantasy scenario would be someone just has resources for this and gives me extremely broad discretion on how to run things. So I just get a debit card charged up with this huge amount of money, and I just buy the kits I want, and then I bring artists out to oh yes, and the workshop also has like living quarters. Like it's a resort workshop, probably about 5 minutes walk from my actual home where I'm living. And artists come out and we just work on projects together. Like, and not small stuff. Not like, and again, no customers, no business, just creativity. And and we do projects, and I have a lot of them like sort of typed up. We do projects that have not been done on this planet yet. Like Warhammer World, they're getting that kind of thing, you know, but not just, but for all genres. That would be amazing. So because Warhammer World, even though they do these amazing dioramas, they have all these miniatures on display, they also don't, they're scoped into just this one company. And what I'd like to do is something where it's all sorts of different companies. But let me tell you, this theoretical benefactor, man, the resources would have to really be pretty huge. And let's see. Oh, and so my home, the workshop, and then over here, like the resort. And that's like farther up the hill. Again, a lot like Sundance, actually. I've spent some time up there, and it seems about right. But Sundance is a little more commercial than what I've invented inside my own head. My thing looks more like Rivendell, actually. But again, I don't live or do my creative stuff or work at the resort itself. That's just a resource that's available for people to come out and do like Valhalla type events. But maybe a little larger and with different aspects to them, like cosplay, for example. Up at the main resort, I have the equivalent of like a museum storage area. It's huge, and it's where all the models and terrain are just kept when they're not in use. And this place, it's worth visiting on its own. Like, it's kind of like a display area as well. And you could go up there and spend the day just looking at everything. All right, and really, having said that, I guess my version of a bucket list, a fantasy vision story list. In many ways, that's like a miniature seed version. I'm standing in it right now. Like it's real. I have a wooded estate. That's a park nearby, a very large park. And I've got different areas, and I have a collection of figures. Wonderful thing. They bring me joy. I love it. Play D&D and miniatures battles with my kids. It's really a fantasy world. It's really fantastic. So, all right, well, off I go. Thank you, Perkins, for sending in your questions, and I'm looking forward to getting more questions and reading your comments. Oh, and hit the bell, the notifications thing. I would love that. That would give me more of an idea of who really is watching all of this. Bye!